So if it's there, hi. We were just having a discussion about boundaries in the class. And at some point I may teach something about boundaries, because boundaries are extremely important in terms of personal boundaries. Learning to protect myself, take care of myself, and not offend you. Allow you to have sacred boundaries. Your personal boundaries, your physical boundaries, your cultural boundaries, your religious boundaries, your ethnic family boundaries. You know, like your boundary in the car when somebody is oozing over into your lane and you're crossing my sacred space. And you know, usually you hit the horn or turn into them. But let me give you a few boundaries regarding the papers that y'all have already done here, and those on TV have been doing them too. I got a nice... Is Sonia here? Sonia? Oh, she's not here. That's okay. A couple of things here. But Nora, late last night, and I were emailing. This is actually from 1121, our grader, last night. She said the object of grading isn't to merely give you a score, but to assist you assist you in improving your writing skills. That can only be done with you writing numerous papers and learning from your mistakes. The comments I provide, she says, are to help you in your writing other essays. I appreciate that English is not some of your primary language, but use the writing lab, and that can really help you. How many in here have used that, the writing lab? Okay. Do you find it sort of helpful? You don't? You do, but she doesn't. Okay. Well, just stay with it. Stay with it. I urge you to continue utilizing that source, the writing lab on campus. You can also visit the learning support services on the website. What is that? Social work. Okay. Which is included on the WebCT link. See, and remember, you're just writing 2 to 3 page papers, 2, 2.5, 3. Some of you get to 4 or something. You're just writing small little essays, and the university happens to think that for you to get a baccalaureate degree, you need to be able to put words and sentences and punctuations and talk in a logical way, and the English language, and that's why this is a required course. You can use both a peer mentor to proof your paper and the skills provided for support learning on the WebCT. If I come across any other method, Nora says, she says, I will let you know on the WebCT. And then she says to me, I'm having tons of fun grading the essays. Nora needs to get a life, but this is pretty, no, she's a wonderful person. But isn't that neat to have your TA saying this is fun? Hope she says that in a month from now. It's really rewarding after reading excellent papers, but it's extremely disheartening after reading poor papers. Since this is a college course, I suppose not everyone was given the proper background in writing style, which is so unfortunate. So don't feel shame if you weren't privileged to learn how to write when you were young. That's just the deck of cards you were given in life. And you can either do something with it or you can complain about it. You can either learn to work with it and develop those skills or not. But nobody should feel ashamed. She says, I'm not a fan of American educational secondary schools anyway. You'd really have a good laugh at the essays that didn't follow a single direction provided by the syllabus for essay content. I just don't understand the act of completing an assignment without even reading the guidelines. See, this is feedback for y'all. You read the guidelines. First thing you're going to write on, you're going to write about the content of the course. Don't put of the paper. Don't put too much weight on that. Some of you are only leaving a couple of lines for your opinions. If you have, you can write another half a page or page on opinions is fine, because your opinion will show that you read the article and understand it. So don't just give regurgitate a book report, a review of it, too much of it, and then give, well, I thought this sucked, or something, silly like that. But to take time to say why you disagree and what you think the author missed and what you would have included and how you agree with it. So you take a little more time for that. And then your 3 questions at the end. Anyway, she said, I had a lot of fun teaching. Wonderful memories I've been sharing with all my friends. I think a star was born that day with Nora. So that's special. And anyway, she said, I hope the class is going well, and maybe I'll check out a tape one day. That's great. Okay, so any questions on that? Kind of get that? And just come back to the next class. That's all right. That went on the tape, didn't it? So recognizing that we've got these 9 papers to write, knowing you can drop one, so you got 8 papers to write, knowing that we're gonna kind of struggle with it at first and then kind of pick it up better and better as we go. And that's just the way the class goes. So don't have a panic attack because the first 2 papers aren't either you didn't get what you thought you needed to get, or because you maybe had some problem with the WebCT. Is most everybody getting along with turning it in? The thing you haven't gotten here yet is feedback, right? Has anybody gotten any feedback? You did? You did? Okay. Is anybody, oh, y'all all did? Okay. Did anybody get any grades back?
Grades are up.
Grades are up. And how does she give feedback?
Like on the score you got.
Say it again. Push that button right there while she's talking.
There's a link on the score that you got. Like, say you got like a 9, there should be a link on the 9, and you click that.
Click the link on the 9 when you get your paper back, and then there you'll get your feedback.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Okay. Okay. Does anybody sort of need to do that hasn't done it? Click the. Okay. Well, that's good. And for you out there in TV land, your grader, whenever you're watching this program, we'll use the same system, I assume, so click on the 9 and you'll get your feedback. And did you find the feedback helpful, sort of, kind of?
Yeah, she provided a thorough paragraph for you to read.
Wow. Eager TAs do a lot of good work. And that's wonderful because she's probably slipped in what's known as her calling, her destiny. You know, whatever you love and enjoy doing, you ought to pay attention to. You know, she's probably an instructor or some kind of teacher or a people helper at some level. She's a graduate student. But you see, she's saying, I love doing this. So, you know, you ought to pay attention to whatever turns you on, gives you a sense of passion, gives you goosebumps, is fun to do, because your body will tell you what your destiny and calling is. The thing you have energy toward. If you find yourself depressed and dragging and you know, we get that way sometime with anything, and you can't ever get sort of fired up or energetic about something, well then, if you're doing what your dad wants you to do, but you're just so depressed and meandering through school, and it's a laborious uphill Sisyphean pushing of the rock up the hill, and you just hate it, but you're doing it because somebody's required it, probably ought to pay attention to that. You're going to have a day of reckoning to say, I am not what you want me to be. I think I'm something else. Has anybody already had that little confrontation with friends or family and stuff? And yeah. And let me say, that's an essential experience, and I'm not trying to create disharmony, but becoming your true self was often something that initially people are afraid of because it's out of the box, it's different from the group. But watch this. As you pursue it over time, and there's a price to pay for it, what will happen is you'll bring it back to the family, the group, the society, and people will say, we're so glad you pursued who you are because you made a difference in the world for all of us. See? So at this age and stage of life, and it kind of happens in our 30s too and 40s where we're having played the game, done all we should do, this urge to become an individual kind of moves up again. Let me just ask you a question here, and for those of you to reflect on the television. How many have a parent, one or two parents who are kind of growing, teachable, open people that you look at your parents and go, wow, you know, they're really on the journey and still growing and discovering life? Yeah, and you know, that's maybe 10% of the class. And I'm not judging in the sense, but I'm just saying, if you're very fortunate, if your parents are still growing, learning, discovering, open, and if they're not so much, if they've sort of foreclosed and gotten stuck in life, believe me, things will come along to bust them out of that. You may be one of those things. Someone said the reason God invented teenagers is to get the parents out of the rut. And often that clashing that goes on during adolescence in our teens and 20s is really because both lives, all lives are trying to be grown, changed, awakened. holding on to who you really are and finding new things. Okay, so that's a little bit about the boundaries I wanted to cover. Now, extra credit. You can get extra credit by going to movies. Get extra credit by writing articles. I think there was yesterday in Massachusetts, what happened? Yeah, same-sex marriages were approved by the Massachusetts Supreme Court. And that's an interesting clip out of the paper or Time, Newsweek magazine, and read it and write a page on it of your response to it. And how you respond to it is you won't be judged on that. You'll be judged because you read it and responded to it. But see, that's a cultural thing, phenomena. There's another one. A couple of movies that are. One is Far From Heaven. Does anybody see that movie? With Randy, what's his last name? From Bel Air, Texas. That's a brother that acts too. Quaid, yeah, Randy Quaid's in there, and he plays a middle-aged, successful, married businessman in the 50s who comes out and discovers he's homosexual, and his wife, who was, I can't think of her name. She won Best Supporting Actress last year. Who? No. Is it Demi Moore? Julianne Moore. Thank you. I thought you said Demi. Yeah, Julianne Moore is this sort of conventional, white, perfect little, house is perfect wife in middle America, white woman, who actually falls in love with her black gardener as she's dealing with the grief of her husband coming out and the impending doom of their marriage. And so there's this interracial thing going on. It's kind of a dark, heavy movie. I mean, it's not so much Bambi walks out at the end and everybody feels good. That's not there. But it's a great movie to look at. Here's interracial dating, and then here's homosexuality and stuff. And you can get that on tape. Another one I saw the other day is What's Cooking. Has anybody seen What's Cooking, the movie? You have? No, you have. I guess y'all don't get out much. Well, I don't get out. I rent them. Looking, but What's Cooking was I kind of stumbled into it. It's 4 families in a suburb on each of 4 corners of a suburban street in in Los Angeles, and one of them is a black family, one's a Vietnamese family, one is a white Jewish family, and the other one is a Hispanic family. And they're all having Thanksgiving. And so they switch from family to family. And actually, there's a Vietnamese young woman in there. She falls in love with the Hispanic guy and brings him over. And you can imagine, and I think in the Jewish family, one of the daughters has a lesbian lover. And all that comes out. But it's really funny, and it's passionate, it's interesting, and the turkey gets burned in a few of the families. I think the Vietnamese family goes and gets fried chicken from Kentucky Fried Chicken because their turkey's burned. But that's another interesting movie. It's called What's Cooking? And it's fun to look at these interracial. Look, these multicultural movies are just happening all the time. Another one is Debut, which is a Filipino movie. Yeah, and great little movie. And then the one with Bill Murray was Lost in Translation. Has anybody seen that? I didn't bring that up. Well, and I'm just awakening your consciousness to begin to look all around you, and those of you on the ITV class, is going to movies. And my hope is after my class, all my classes, you have more awareness to see these themes that are coming up at us in movie and in media, and developing a reflective attitude toward them, and not just going, no, I don't want to go see that movie. Maybe you don't, but a lot of these movies have very powerful meaning. 21 Grams, anybody seen that? That's another interesting movie with Sean Penn, and it's a really interesting movie. And there's some cross-cultural and stuff like that that's going on. Okay, so you get extra credit for that. Oh, and I ran this off the internet today. There's a movie called Japanese Story that's just out at Greenway. Let me just read it because here's kind of interesting it is. While on a field trip, an ambitious geologist finds herself having to babysit a taciturn Japanese businessman. Hoping to strike up a business deal, she agrees to take him around Western Australia's remote Pilbara Desert. Anybody know what that is? No. Journeying further and further into the wild outback, these two diametrically opposed strangers are thrust into a potentially life or death situation and begin to leave all of their preconceptions of themselves and each other. See, that just kind of seems so interesting, see. The thing we're afraid of most in life is what we don't know about ourselves, what we fear the unknown. And if you want to become a whole person, you have to keep stepping into the unknown. You have to walk toward your dragons, towards your fears, towards the things that are uncomfortable. Because when you integrate them, as it were, and make friends with what you don't know, then it no longer dominates you and runs your life. Remember my daughter who's 27 now, and she was 8. And Dad, I want to ask my friend down the street to come to spend the night. And I said, well, that's great. But I want you to do it for me. Well, you know, Lori, I tell you what, I'll go with you. Okay. See, she was going to get me to the door and then get me to still do it. And we got to the door, and she goes, Dad, I don't want to knock on the door. I'm embarrassed. I said, well, we can go back home and you can call. I'll stay here with you. But if you don't want to bring her over, that's okay with me. If you want to bring her over, that's okay. But it's really your call. Film at 11. Check it later. No. What could I have done? Oh, sweetheart. No. You're afraid. Let me do this for you. See, poor thing. Don't ever worry about this. Daddy will always be here. You're 27. I'll knock on the door. You see how you suddenly could keep her from overcoming a fear in parenting and prevent her from discovering new powers, new energies in her life that are waiting to come forth. And that's part of what parenting is, isn't it? Is encourage them. You can do it. You don't need me. You can do it. You can nurture yourself. You can take risk on your own behalf. And that's an example of that. So any of these movies that are sort of different, culturally different, will help, I think. Okay. See with our time. I wanted to read. Did I hand this thing out to you? It said invitation yesterday. Does anybody have it? I didn't read anything on it, did I? Okay. Well, get it out and let me read it. And then our TV students, y'all can go to the website and find this. I'll have it posted in there for under handouts, class handouts. Does anybody need one? I've got a few extras over here. Oh my God, here. Just take them and pass them around. And I want to read this, and then we're going to have our presentation, and then have some stuff to share with you for the some exam stuff. And let me hold on. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Hi. I had to get the roll passed around in here. The last TV class I did, we had 9 students. 9. But I had 2 on a remote, and so they kind of brought some energy. But this is a full class, and so we're going to have to sort of doing 2 things at once. Anybody know the movie Angels with Della Reese? Used to come on Sunday night, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, something about an angel. Touched by an Angel. The producer of that is, if it's still on, or was, a woman named Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson wrote a book about 20 years ago called Whatever Happened to Love. And she's a psychotherapist and writer and stuff. The book was a bestseller, and she thought she had this dream following her call, her destiny. She had this idea, and she pursued it. And it turned out, somebody said, a movie about an angel, all this God stuff, religion, this thing will never work on TV. But somebody gave her a shot at it, and it's turned out to be one of the more successful TV shows ever. Anyway, she was asked by Nelson Mandela, who was the first president of the new Republic of South Africa when apartheid legally ended, having spent, 26 years in prison, mostly in solitary confinement for his training to be president. But she, Marianne Williamson, actually was his writer for his speech. And this that I'm going to read you was part of the inauguration speech that he gave in 1994. But Marianne Williamson was attributed to writing this part of it, if not all of it. But nevertheless, Nelson Mandela, this is what he shared. And it helps us honor no matter what culture or race or ethnicity or sexuality, wherever you're from, we have a purpose here. It says our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just some of us. It is in everyone. Sounds like a sermon, doesn't it? And yet he's standing before the world and this new nation. And he's honoring all the individuals, black, white, African, or whatever. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. We have our presentations today. And Rochelle, Diana, y'all come on up. And Ashley. And there's 2 articles to present. Have y'all split up one of them? How wonderful. They've been working for months and months for this moment to get ready for this. Y'all give them a big hand as they come up in and present it. Just stand right here and talk, and that'll pick you up.
I'm presenting is Numbers, Minorities, and Majorities. The basic concept of this article was discrimination in the workforce, more specifically the token woman with being involved with a corporation that had mainly men. The thing that caught my attention was how they discriminated against the token woman. The token woman, meaning she was representing all women, and it was just one woman, was that they quarantined her, they isolated her and kept her out of particular meetings. They deprived her of special and important information. They wouldn't include her in outside work-related gatherings. They were suspicious of her and were always scrutinizing her. And if she made mistakes, they were immediately known. And even though they welcomed her working there, they didn't want her doing better than them. The second thing that I noted that caught my attention was how they exaggerated their culture and tried to make it highly visible and known, especially around her. They would make crude jokes about women and purposely try to make the token feel uncomfortable. They spoke about topics that the token wouldn't relate to. For example, fishing, sports, or other male-oriented topics. And that really made her feel like the unwanted third wheel. And I have a question. Have you ever had a token person in your group of friends? And if so, how did you treat that person? Yes.
We treated him bad.
Why did you treat him bad?
Because he was a token person in our group.
Give a little more of that. Say how and why and what happened.
Okay, well, he would always do things that he knew annoyed people, or he'd do things that everybody else wasn't trying to do, but he'd still always be around. So, it's better to make fun of your friends than to make fun of people you don't know.
Well, was he white or in a black group? Or?
No, he was just like, because he was black we were all black.
How was he a token?
I mean, he like us.
Got picked on?
Yeah. And it was easy to pick on him because he didn't retaliate.
Okay. Okay. Also.
Somebody else.
Okay.
Anybody else have an experience of a token person in a workplace, or been a token person in a workplace?
What's a token?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The token person is like one person representing a whole group. Like, she was a token woman. There was no other woman working there. She was like the token woman, so they would make like stereotypes against her, like, oh, so she's like this, she's like that, So, yeah. Okay. And also, speaking of stereotypes, they had particular stereotypes that they would have towards her. They would stereotype her as the mother. She was supposed to listen to their problems and comfort them, or she was supposed to be rewarded purely out of service, not out of her work. She was stereotyped as a seductress. She was not respected, and she was just an object to gain. She was stereotyped as the pet, the kid sister, the adorable little woman, the woman who was in awe of the big, strong, intelligent man and was always on the sidelines, never in the game. And she was also stereotyped as the Iron Maiden, the strong, confident, self-assured woman who wanted to be treated fairly and stated her opinions always. The result of this was self-hatred. Being around negativity and someone always putting you down and always making you feel inferior, she started hating herself and not accepting herself. Also, she was attempting to be one of the boys, while in the process deserting the girls. She wanted to be accepted by them. Also, was isolation. She didn't want to play their game, so she was isolating herself. She didn't have any relationships with her coworkers, and so. That's what happened. Also, what happened was the two token situation, where there was two token women, meaning just two women out of the whole men in the corporation. And so what the majority would try to do, which is the men, would try to put them against each other by portraying one superior as the other one. This led to competition with each other and trying to establish differences with each other. Or they would become alliances and share their misfortunes. So basically it's just discrimination, trying to put other people down because they're different or because they're the only person in that group of people, and in the process bringing out negativity out of that person.
Hi. This essay was basically about it gave a historical perspective on cultural diversity and how it should be manifested in schools. What really stood out to me was the author that stated some of these true Americans, as he calls them, that want to segregate students based on what they know. They say that students who don't speak English they should basically assimilate into the American culture. And well, I disagree with that, because I feel like if somebody doesn't speak English, why are you just gonna put them in a room with other students who don't speak your language? So basically, the author also quotes a lot of people who feel very strongly about others assimilating into the American culture, and how they feel that so much cultural diversity is un-American, and some even define it as a national crisis. But I find it kind of contradicting, because, well, when they came here to America, they were immigrants themselves, and they didn't conform to the lifestyles of like the Native Americans. So I feel like, why are they telling minorities and newcomers to do this? To do that?
Who are the they?
Like these, like conservative, patriotic Americans. You know,
mean white Northern European?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Make sure we got the same they we're working on.
Pretty much. I didn't want to just.
I've heard about those people.
Yeah.
Irish and Germans and English.
Yeah, but pretty much.
Italians. They're just
So I was.
terrible people.
I found it contradicting, because I mean they didn't conform to the lifestyles of the Native Americans. So
Right.
why are they expecting us to do the same? You know,
Yeah, that's
I mean
good.
to do that.
Good.
So my questions basically were. Okay, for y'all. Okay, how many of y'all think that children who don't speak English should be placed in English-speaking classrooms in order to assimilate, like what they want? What they want.
I only say that because that's just going to help them in this society when they get older. It's only going to help them, you know?
So they don't speak a word of English, and they're going to be put in English-speaking classrooms. How is that helping them? They don't understand the teacher. How are they going to learn?
They're going to be taught, though. They're
No,
not just
but
going to be thrown in.
Just be thrown in. That's what it's basically saying.
Well, maybe like start them off in an introductory to English class, and then from there put them in the class. with
Yeah,
the students.
that's how I feel. But some people
That's
don't
what
want that. Some people
ESL
just-
is. They have ESL in like all the schools.
Yeah, but this is a historical perspective, how people
Right.
felt, like, you know, in the older days. And
He had a question down there.
I came to this country at 4 years old and I didn't speak any English, and I started off in elementary in an English class. So basically it's helped me out a whole lot, and I feel that putting a person like any other foreign person in like ESL programs, that kind of slows them down. You know,
and do
so
you feel like you're speaking for everybody else? I mean, I know people are different.
that's just me, you know. I mean, my capacity is different from everyone else.
How did it slow you down?
No, it helped him out. That's what he said.
No, it helped me. I'm just saying I've seen other people that it slows them down. Sometimes they can like read at a second grade level when they're like at a third grade.
Right.
So that's my observation. You know, I'm not sure about anybody else.
Yeah,
I was in ESL for the first like 4 years of my elementary school, and I'm not slow, I don't think.
You don't sound slow the way you said that.
No. It really helped me, and I'm doing fine.
Well, isn't the idea if somebody comes in and they English is their second, third, fourth language, they don't speak any English, isn't the idea to keep them up to speed in learning while they're learning English by having a classroom taught in their primary language so they can learn math and learn these skills while they're learning English, and then they take English-only courses? Is that how anybody go to school like that?
You go through ESL and they teach you whatever you need to learn. They teach you English and they teach you how to do everything. And then by the time you're like in second or third or fourth grade, you're already like integrated into everybody else, and it's just like nothing. You leave class like for an hour or an hour and a half every day, your normal class. And you go there and you have just your own little special class, like the short class.
Yeah, I agree with that. And okay, why do y'all think that there are some people, whites in particular, who are more tolerant to cultural diversity than others? Because it talked about how some people were more liberal. They wanted to give these kids chances, and they're more tolerant towards it. Why do y'all think?
Well, since this is a historical thing, this goes back to like 19th century. We're learning about it in history right now when like immigration came over in late 19th century. The WASPs, which are white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, they were really against it. They really disliked all these other people coming and bringing this new culture, because America was supposed to be for WASPs only, and that's it. So it goes back to a cultural thing. I mean, a culture from way back in the day. So
it was. Do you think it was more of their environment, or?
I mean, the environment that everyone has to be a WASP, and if they're not, then they're an outcast. Because all the immigrants were harshly discriminated against, especially Irish people, and so Irish and Germans were really the first people to come who were really discriminated against. So it goes all the way back to there, as to why people are discriminated because of their culture.
This doesn't have to do with your question, but like when you're talking about assimilation, isn't that the same thing as like us having to take Spanish in high school? You know, they say taking Spanish in high school and stuff.
But that's
like, you know how it's like like it says it's supposed to help us, but what if you don't want to even live in Texas?
But you already know everything, you know, like that's just something for your own good, you know, just.
Yeah, but like it's like the same thing, you know, because we're being forced to take it, just like a minority came here, they're being forced to take English.
That's not really having an impact on your whole life, because you already know how to add and subtract and write and everything. That's just something that, you know, it could benefit you. But for the kids, it's like they gotta learn the basics first for me, like reading and all that stuff, and then they can, you know, assimilate.
That's good. Stacy, can you pan back over like you did where I was in the picture up there, all the way over? Oh, look at it. Now everybody turn and look at the camera so they'll see how diverse we are. Turn and see. About these wasps. I want to talk about these wasps.
But that was pretty much it.
You got one more question?
No, that was pretty much it. But I'll let it short talk.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I'm also going to talk about the schooling and social diversity. And I just want to start by saying that the United States has never been as diverse as it is now, as you can tell just by looking around the classroom. And I just want to say, how many people have parents or ancestors that are immigrants, just by show of hands?
It'd be like, who's Native American?
So that's your hand up. That's mostly everybody, and it may seem natural to you now that, you know, so many different people of different ethnicities or and cultures in one class, but back in the day, it wasn't like this, and it wasn't easy for everybody just to come to school and learn or whatever. And in the article, David Psyc quotes Paula Fass, who says, "The shape of American education in the 20th century is crucially related to the problems with American diversity." And I believe this because back in the day, they had what they call Americanizers, who wanted people who are of foreign backgrounds to come and just naturalize, like become the American mode or whatever they want to call it. And I don't think that's fair, because you want somebody to come over and be someone who they're not and just forget about who they really are. And I just want to ask, like, how do you all deal with social diversity in school? Like, do you interact with other people, or do you just, you know, talk to people that's your same ethnicity?
Good question.
Shapor?
Oh. Well, I mean, I don't really care what you are. I mean, I'll talk to you whatever race. I like to interact with other races because you learn about different cultures. You might be introduced to something you like. So for that, I'm cool with everything, I guess.
But do you see yourself like going up to someone of another race? I mean, do you?
Oh, all the time. Well, where I went to high school, I went to high school in A-Leaf, and in A-Leaf, that's like it's known as an international community because there's so many races there. So that really wasn't even much of an issue where I went to high school. So it's cool.
I think more nowadays that people don't really look at ethnicity more, but people hang out with people who do the same thing. Like the athletes hang out with the athletes. People who like the band hang out with people who like the band. It's more against your hobby. So people who like the same thing I do.
Okay.
I wonder how many people's parents hang out with a different race or ethnic group. Anybody's parents hang out with other friends of different races? That's interesting. Not my parents. They're both half gone.
Okay. The article, it talks about how educators were basically trying to mold the classrooms or whatnot, and because it was becoming socially diverse, they had different ways of dealing with this problem, such as they discriminated, they separated people, they assimilated them, they desegregated, some ignored, compensated, celebrated, and preserved it. And basically, when they discriminate, it was like blacks went to separate schools that were unequal and poor, and Mongolians were not able to go to school at all. And when they separated, it was basically like people who were mentally challenged were separated from the rest and things like that. And one of the biggest things was assimilation, getting people to assimilate to the American culture. And what they wanted them, not only did they want them to assimilate, it was just that they wanted them to forget their connections and everything back home. So another question that I asked is, how do y'all feel about that? Do you think people should assimilate and have to forget everything that they know about their culture? Anybody think that they should assimilate and forget their culture?
Right. But assimilate to what? Because what is the American culture? What are they going to assimilate to anymore? Like, if somebody comes over from Japan, and then they can come here and they can find somebody who is still following the Japanese culture and the Japanese ways, if they want to, or they can find somebody who's conforming to African ways, so they can choose what they want to assimilate to, because what their culture, they can choose their culture.
See, okay, but you're talking about now, but I'm talking about like back in the day, when it wasn't like people coming over. I mean, it was other people of their ethnicity and culture, but it wasn't a whole lot. And it was basically what I mean by assimilate to like the white culture or whatever you want to call it. But it's just, I don't know. I
think they should have integrated, not so much assimilated, but integrated into the culture and take some of American culture and take some of their own culture put together. And
Right, and initially, don't we go with the known, and we need the support of the known, and until we feel secure and rooted, and get our job, and then jobs and school and experiences move us into other cultures. I couldn't imagine somebody just showing up and saying, "I don't want to be with my people," and going with another people. That would just come.
Oh, I was just going to say that I thought assimilation was more of keeping an open mindset and like at the same time taking pride in who you are and where you come from, but not judging others, because it's like shoes on the opposite foot there, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want them to force you to be their way, but at the same time they wouldn't want you to look at them as outcast either. So it's just like keeping an open mind.
That's good.
Okay. Well, you have something to say?
That's one thing. I think people who come here, they should try to be more Americanized because they are here. But I mean, they shouldn't forget where they come from. They shouldn't forget their culture because that's their whole ancestry and all that stuff. So they should. I think they should fully know about their own culture, but at the same time, try to be more American because that's where you live.
Well, I think that there is no real American culture just because the only people that were from here were the Native Americans. And I just think that it's important to know who you are and where you came from, because like now we have a Black History Month and we have different classes about different cultures and stuff like that. So obviously it was important to someone to bring these things out. So I just think that everyone needs to remember that you are who you are not necessarily for a reason, because you didn't have a choice to be who you are, but you are important. And so that's just basically it.
Good. No, thank you. Big hand for that. Thank you. Very good. Y'all have done an excellent job on the presentation. See, I'll see you later. Good to leave. Great, that's good. And you know what's interesting is, and we're going to look at this when I start teaching more out of the textbook a little bit from that, is culture is like personality, and who wants everybody to be a clone of everybody else? And our culture, our looks, we dress differently. It's the unique personality that we all have that makes life interesting. Well, that's a nice look, isn't it? This over here. We have a rat in here, our class, eating the wall over here. Okay, let me talk a little bit about, finish this stuff that's going to be on the test about the 3 ego stances. And then I want to talk about 5 ways that we assimilate in the 3rd stance, as it were. And the camera's here already. Here's our little acorn. And a good test question, the moving acorn, is what is the acorn theory? It's a great question. And the acorn theory by Hillman, Hillman, good test question. Describe the acorn theory with an example, or explain it with an example. And that would be the acorn theory is that we come into this world as a seed. Here it is right here. We come into this world as a seed, this daimon, called by the Greeks, the genius, a character, a destiny, a calling, this life force within us. And that there's a purpose to be lived. And Hillman is just saying that psychology has forgotten this. This old Platonic story of the myth of E-R, right there. And in fact, that's a great extra credit thing. I looked it up. So there it is right there. The myth of And it was in Plato's Republic. But this would be interesting if somebody wanted to on the TV or in the class. It's about 2 pages, rather smallly written, to read about this. And he was trying to say that we come in with a purpose and with a life to be lived out. And the acorn theory attests that this daimon, this energy, this unique personality, this calling, is always trying to express itself. And it has a soul's code. There's a destiny, and our job is to attend to this destiny as much as we can, and not be so caught up in thinking, well, I'm just a self-made person. I've got a captain of my own ship, master of my own fate. I got to put it all together myself. It's all up to me. without realizing that we come in with these energies, these gifts. You know, an artist is not made, an artist is born. Are you with me? You can tell by my writing, I probably don't have the artist's gift of penmanship. But how many in here have a little bit of artistic gift in drawing, painting, stuff like that? Stick your hand up. Yeah, that's great. I was in one of my classes last semester, and there were about 120 people in there, and there was a student on the end just doodling. And I stopped and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "That's my hand." And she was sort of, so it looked funny. She was just sitting there waiting for class, holding her hand like this, and she was sketching it on just a notebook paper, sort of like doodling. And I said, "You drew that?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm just looking at my hand right here." And I said, "You're an artist." She goes, "Nah." I said, "You want me to see me draw a hand?" You know, stick figure. And my point was to her, and I said it before the class without embarrassing her, I said, "Your life is messed up now. Because you have revealed to me and other people that you have an artistic gift. What are you going to do with that? You're going to ignore it? You're going to pretend like you don't have it? You're going to say, gee, I got the shaft, I should be this, I should be that, I'm the wrong color, wrong race, wrong gender, whatever. Or are you going to say, wow, look what I have. I have this gift to draw." And I said, the world will suffer, I told her this in front of the class, if you don't attend to your talent, because it has a purpose for it. That's the acorn theory. And every one of us has that calling and has that purpose. And of course it can be exploited if we take it and use it for unhealthy purposes, but it can be exploited if it's not used at all. But that's the acorn theory, and a good test question on that. There's a book that some of you might be inspired to read or look at, and it's called, let me just push it up here, it's called The Soul's Code by the preeminent psychologist Hillman. He's a depth psychologist, an analytical psychologist. He's not a behaviorist or what we see mostly around college campuses, cognitive and behavior psychotherapy, but psychology. But his is more looking at in-depth and looking at symbols and metaphors and myths and stories, the analytical side, which is something that I like teaching and addressing because not many classes do. And but the book is called Soul's Code by Hillman. It's good for further reading in the summer when you're not taking classes. Okay, let me, now I want to look at we looked at these three ways: inflation, reductionism, to be a victim of life. Inflation is self-made man, as it were, full of pride and pretentiousness. Remember, inflation is not bad in and of itself. Neither is being deflated. From our inflations, we get hope, and we take risk, and we feel good about ourselves. And what do our deflations, our reductionism, the things that, the limitations in life, what do they give us? What do they offer us? Just ask in the class. All the things I can't do, all the losses I have, the things that, what effect do they have for us positively? Anyone take a stab at that? Yeah.
Maybe they motivate us to try to get those things that we don't have or we lost.
Yeah, they do motivate us. They cause us to seek and knock and look and learn and search. What else do they do for us? It's something that most college students haven't figured out yet, but your parents have. Yeah.
I guess they could be like a safety net, like you don't get too inflated, so it's like back down to reality.
They do. They put our feet on the ground. In AA, Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step programs, there's a saying, head in the clouds, feet on the ground. Dreaming dreams, taking risk, but keeping your feet on the ground. And what most of us do, sometimes we have our feet so much on the ground we don't ever amount to anything. Or we're so heavenly minded, space cadet, that we're no earthly good. So it's this balance between neither being too inflated nor too reductive. Another thing that it does, and we'll look at it, is it humbles us. Humbles us. And humility leads to teachableness. And none of us like to be humbled. Humbled comes to be humiliated. And humus, where we get the word, but the human experience is called humus. What is humus? Greek word. You can see it at the plant store this weekend if you go. What is humus? It's where the root word of human. What is it?
Is it I don't know, biologically it's like decomposing stuff?
Yes, it's fertilizer. It is. It's fertilizer. It's the rich soil. Show you some of my artistic gifts. Here's the tree. This stuff around the tree, that's actually not bad, is it? It's like a mushroom cloud. But it's just stuff around the tree that the leaves fall and they decompose over time. And humus is rich earth. And part of what that's acknowledging is human beings are beings of the earth. We're earth people. And watch this. It's another word for it to keep the language clean is fertilizer or caca or poop or you know what I'm saying? It's waste. But it's the waste that creates what? The fertilizer that grows the trees. And we often say the bigger the pile of the manure, the greater the oak tree. See, the bigger the pile of manure in your life, all these things that are seemingly wasteful actually can be possibilities for new things that would never come out. So humus beings is a being from the earth. And let me say this. When you get humiliated, you feel like poop. I use that word. It's probably fair on TV. I won't use the S word. But and when you really get sick, say, how do you feel? You say, oh, I feel like, you use the word humus. There used to be a bumper sticker 15 years ago that said, humus happens, to flip the word. See? And that's when you get fired from a job. I've been fired from 3. It's very humiliating. It brings you down to the earth. It hurts. But those experiences can be the most transformative of your life. 2 years ago, or like 4 years ago, at my daughter's graduation in New England from Wheaton College, Robert Reich was the speaker. And he talked about all the wonderful things that you get to happen now that you're graduating from school. But then when he said one of the things that has to happen for you to begin to really benefit from your education is you need to get fired from a job. Because then it drives you not to be so inflated. I'm cool, I'm neat, I can make it happen. But it drives you into something deeper. Well, who am I if I'm not the successful person, inflated person I need to be? And I thought, boy, what a great speech to honor that failing and humiliation, reductiveness, being a nobody sometimes, being a loser, can cause tremendous, powerful, wonderful things to happen within us. Okay, so the dance is between the two of these is neither being too inflated nor too reduced. Both of these are actually closed system by themselves, but the willingness to grow through awareness by becoming yourself. And in fact, as I'm doing this, I got a call late last night, and one of the most significant people in my life, my uncle, is dying. He's had Alzheimer's and been in a bad state, but he's in San Antonio. He's a retired 3-star general in the Air Force, and he was probably more important to me in terms of developing my own willingness to grow and follow my own path. I thought I had to go into business like my dad. I thought the only thing a real man could do is jump into the corporate world, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just had some other ideas, but I didn't have permission to do it. Well, Sailor, my uncle, he sailed a lot, said he was a very important person in my life that gave me permission in college to pursue my passions and my interests, my curiosities through life. And my cousin called last night to tell me that he's dying, and they want me to come up to San Antonio to do the eulogy, probably this weekend or whenever it is. And he was a full colonel in the Army Air Corps when he was 28 years old, which is sort of unheard of. He finished college in the late 30s and was involved in the Army before World War II started. He's 86 now, I think. And retired at 55 with 3 stars. And interesting, wonderful, wonderful man. Flew jets up until retired. He always went where his men went. He always would. He would never ask anybody to do anything he wasn't willing to do. But I'll tell you a quick story as we move into this because he's on my mind. Early in World War II, there was fighting with American fighters against German planes. Messerschmitt and of the German Air Force. And he was telling me this story one time when one of my nieces was getting married, and we were standing in the parking lot of a La Quinta on I-35 outside of Austin, and we were talking. And he said, "Well, you know, Herb, you know what I told him I was teaching here. This was about 3 years ago. He said, "You know what the problem today is there's no integrity." I says, "What does that mean, integrity? And what do you mean by that?" And he said, "Well, I'll tell you a story." He said, just when the war started, I was in charge of a squadron of American fighter planes, and we were fighting these in the Balkans, Balkan Sea and the Balkan states with Germans. And I had flown, and I sent out a lieutenant to take the troops out, 14 planes out to fight the Germans. And he said only 12 of them came back. Here I am talking to this veteran warrior, this wonderful, venerable, wise old man. And I said, "Wow, only 12 came back?" He said, and I noticed a big old crocodile tear appeared in his eye. And I said, I knew I was at a magic moment, that he was going to say something that I didn't want to miss. And of course, in my mind, I'm picturing this as a young man and sending these troops out. He said there was only one answer, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Integrity." I said, "Integrity?" He said the German planes were faster than our planes. And what I forgot to tell the lieutenant who was in charge of the squadron, that he must come in high so they could build up airspeed with gravity to fight these other planes. And I didn't tell him. And therefore our guys were killed because they were out, the planes were better than ours. And I said, "Oh my gosh, how do you live with that?" And he said, integrity means I take the next group out. I take the next group out. And part of this thing of moving into this third ego stance is to saying, my life is not going to be just about getting all I want when I want it. It's not going to be shriveling from life, which Sailor could have made an excuse, my uncle. But he said, I'm jumping in. I'm plunging in. I'm going to invest myself to grow and become and take on the challenges of life and do what needs to be done. And that story in itself left a huge impression on my life. I've changed the wording of this a little bit, and let me just see if we can get it down here. And this is a willingness to become yourself through awareness and the experiences of life. So that would be the third thing, and I want to look at a couple of these before we stop today to understand that. So this is this third ego stance, and this is where cultural psychology really can be fun and interesting, because there's so many experiences and awarenesses around us as we look at the different cultures, ethnicities all around us and within us. So this third one, which is number 3 of the 3 ego stances, is the willingness to become yourself. Yourself, capital S, your true self, the Buddhists call it, through awareness and the experiences of life. It's like the mother who said, I'm not going to let my daughter get into the water until she learns how to swim. So integrity, this third deal, is you plunge in. Like most of you, all of you have done in college, you've plunged in. You're jumping in. There's no guarantee you're going to get out. There's no guarantee you're going to spend all this time and trouble taking classes and leave and go, wow, best experience I ever had. Many of you may not even say that. See? But your willingness to plunge in, that's the third thing. And to become yourself, to find yourself, to discover yourself. The first thing on this, 5 ways or challenges toward becoming ourselves, is to recognize the call or the unique destiny as a prime fact of human existence. And these are ideas. I'm presenting these as food for thought, for reflection. I'm not new to share all these things. They're shared in many corridors of life. But it's to recognize that there's a call upon us, that there's a life to be lived, and that it is a prime fact of human existence. And if you don't know this now, one day when you have children, you'll discover that, because our children have their own mind, their own issues, their own life. And many of the classes that happen with teenagers and parents is the unique call and destiny on a child is actually going against the parents' ideas of what the child should do. And many of us go through that, and that's just part of life. And that would say, too, on this one, this first one, is to recognize there is a unique destiny. It would honor the fact that there's something within me, there's a seed, there's a life to be lived. Now watch this as we move through the second one. And the second one is, move the humus out of the way. Do you like that humus happens? I thought that was pretty funny. Is to align your life by following, align your life with it, the call, by following a mystery. That means we don't know where we're going. We don't know what we're doing. It's a mystery. Yeah, line your life up with the call. With it would be the call or the purpose. And knowing we don't know what the purpose is, but we'll get glimpses of it. We'll get ideas about it. We'll get hunches about it. We'll get intuitions. We'll have experiences and problems that will awaken us to it. But secondly is to align your life with some call, some destiny, some purpose. By following a mystery that you can't see and asking tough questions about the meaning of your life. And see, this awakens the imagination in the human experience. Is to it awakens something within us that wants to express itself. It's to not know where you're going. I prefer the uncertainty of life to reality. I'd rather take the breadth and depth of uncertainty and mystery than to live in the narrowness of reality. And the courageous move for the student is the willingness to align my life with some call and follow a mystery by asking tough questions about the meaning of life. Is this who I am? Is this what I have passion for? Is this what's wooing me? Is this what I'm intrigued about? See, in my own life, when I was in college studying business, I had a hard time accepting that my life might have another route, and I didn't figure that out till my very last semester of college. That perhaps the reason I wasn't attending to it is because that wasn't who I was. That wasn't who I am. I just took on a lot of shame and guilt that I was doing something wrong because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, but actually something else was pushing and calling me. Have y'all had some of this experience already in your life, just looking around at the group? Okay. So this is to step into the opaque unknown of the nowhere, following a mystery you can't see, and not being afraid of it, although it is fearful, but to keep walking that way. And the third one would be, is to seek to become a person of value rather than just successful. Seek to become a person of value. And what do I mean by that? Someone whose unique life is important. To my children, I'm a person of great value. Monetary value used to be. I don't have to do that anymore, thank goodness. Although I'm still paying off my daughter's college. She's paying off a lot of hers too. But that's one of the best checks I write every month. But to become a person of value and not just successful by accepting your givens as belonging to your destiny. That's a lot there, but I want to talk about it. Seek to become a person of value rather than just successful. What is a successful person? Oh, she's really successful. Oh, he's successful. What does that mean when I say that? Anyone? Yeah, push the little button there.
Yes, now it means like monetary value.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Did most of you pick that up? Oh, he's successful, meaning he's got a lot of money. Isn't that funny? You don't think that? Good. What do you think?
I think that success is not about how much you acquire, but rather how much you give back and how much you actually enjoy.
Okay, good. And that's great. What's your name? Claire? Kalea. Oh, yeah, beautiful name. Yeah, see, but I'd say your opinion is probably the minority. Most people would say they're successful. You immediately jump to the fact they've made a lot of money. They've succeeded in their business endeavor. And certainly that is a sign of success. But to become a person of value and not just successful is to become someone who's important, someone who the world is better because you're here, someone who Your children one day will say, I was so lucky to have you as a parent. My goodness, I was lucky. Yeah, you had your hand up? Oh, you're just twiddling your deal? By accepting your givens. What are the givens? What are some of the givens that we deal with? Yeah.
Pretty much whatever situation you're put in, your conditions.
Yeah, give me some ideas of givens.
Maybe someone has like not enough, like the family they come from, maybe they're poor.
A poor family.
Or like health problems.
Health problems, physical maladies. Have a parent who's sick. What are other givens, things you didn't choose? Your blood? A flood. What he said, blood. A flood. What else? Your race? Your ethnicity? What? Culture. Yeah, your culture. These things we were born into that we didn't have a choice about. Good, bad, and indifferent. The givens. See, the third thing is to become a person of value by accepting the givens as belonging to your destiny. Mahatma Gandhi was living in South Africa, wasn't he? And he would ride the train in to Johannesburg. He was a young attorney. And where would they put him? Does anybody know his story? Where was Gandhi put? He had to be on the train with the black people. And he had to get on one train and stay on one train. And he said, well, I don't want to ride on this train. I want to ride on the other train where I can eat a meal. And this train's too crowded. And so he said, so his given was that he had dark skin relative to the white Afrikaners. And yet, the conflict he had was part of his destiny. And that's what started him on his path to eventually help free India from the British Empire to find their own country. Because his given that was something might seem as negative was actually part of his destiny. You see how that works? And perhaps the great miracle of life is when I come to accept, not as resignation, poor little old me, this is reductionism, my life is so messed up. But more than that, why am I who I am? Why am I this color? Why was I born at this race? Why this gender? Why at this time in history? All of us could have been born 200 years ago or 200 years from now. Why now? Why me? Why my basic personality, my bodily structure, my mental gifts or lack of it? See, why these givens? And see, the third thing in becoming your true self is becoming a person of value by accepting your givens as belonging to your destiny. Now let me say this before I go on. That's true for you. I have to be willing to say, you're here for a reason. And you have a destiny. And you following your call, you're dealing with your givens and making something of them as part of your destiny actually has an effect on my life. So I want you to become what you're meant to become a person of value and not just success. The inflated Western culture tends to think success and money and material things are the only thing of value. And I say, pursue that for 20, 30, 40 years, and suddenly you wake up and go, wow, I know how to make a lot of money. I know how to make a living, but I know nothing about living life. Of course, as a psychologist, I end up helping a lot of folks at that stage of life. Somebody said you spend your health to get your wealth, and then you spend your wealth to keep your health. A couple of more here, and we'll finish for today. The fourth one is to dare to be unmasked, real and authentic before the world. This is a tough one, because most of us have so many masks, personas, images that we carry. Most of us, the thought of being a real, genuine person and be authentic. Most of us have learned to pretend and to be phony and to give people what they want, not who we are. And it stifles our journey to becoming our true self. And I put a few things down here that help us honor that. As I dare to be real, actually naked is another word, but I didn't think I ought to put, Dr. Agan said I ought to be naked. I didn't think that would go over. He taught you what? To be an authentic person, to be a real person, to be teachable. To be a teachable person their whole life is actually to be real and authentic. To say the hardest thing for many of us to say is, I don't know. I don't know. I'm learning. I'm still learning. See? To be that. To be open. To be humbled. To be joyful in life. To have a sense of, like a little kid is just so, what you see is what you get. They'll run out in the street naked or in the yard playing, and they're just so real and authentic. And they ask stupid questions like, why is a little bird? And you go, oh, kid, you need to grow up. And the kid is curious and full of wonder and mystery about life. And unfortunately, we kill that in our education system. We say, stop asking questions, stop being curious, stop being full of wonder about life. And then we get everybody phony and playing games without being authentic and genuine behind that. And then the last one I have, the fifth one. And yeah, good. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me. We'll go back to that. Is teachable, open, humbled, and joyful. And there may be more. These just came to mind about to be authentic, real, unmasked before the world. It's hard for a lot of us to do, isn't it? Because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to pretend like a fool. And yet, to become a real person, you have to be willing to say, I'm lost. I'm confused. I'm scared. I'm not sure. See? Or to say, I love you. I care for you. I like doing this. This is important for me. To speak from inside. And I'm telling you, looking in the faces of many college students, it seems I see folks who are just so afraid to be authentic. One of the students earlier came in and said, I was sick Wednesday, and here's the pills that I have today. And I went, well, are you feeling better? Well, let me see the doctor's excuse. See, we'd just be playing a game. See? But to say, I'm sick, well, first thing I want to know, are you feeling better? You look terrible. No. Are you feeling better? And to connect as authentic, you see what I'm saying? And real and genuine. And to the degree we do that, we become more whole and authentic. And let me just hit the last one here, and we'll look at it in the next class. This is to risk being a co-creator for the healing of the world. And that's all you need to put down on the test, is to risk being a co-creator for the healing of the world. And this is huge because this moves us out of self-centeredness into saying it's not all about me. It is about me. It is about me, but it's not all about me. That my life can enrich or curse the rest of us. That what I do to become my authentic self, follow my calling, my destiny, has huge effect on other people. Greatest thing I can do for my children always is keep working on my own stuff, as it were, get my humus in a pile, work on my stuff, deal with my fears, my insecurities. You see what I'm saying? Has huge effect on that. We need you to become your true self. So to be a co-creator for the healing of the world, to say, wait a minute, I know I'm part of the problem, but I want to be part of the answer, because my response to life, to my destiny, my call, has effect on other people's lives. Did y'all already somehow sense that? Any of you already sense that with y'all? How many have little brothers and sisters in here? Yeah, see, you already got somebody looking up to you. And do you go, yeah, buzz off, chump? or are you able to say, hey, let me see your work? Or, I'm so glad you're my little brother or sister. If you just get out of my room, leave me alone. But you see, we already have an effect on others, just the siblings in our deal. Okay, well, thank you, and I'll see you next class. Bye.